If you're thinking about getting into model railroading or you're already an addict, boy do we have a project for you. In this episode, we start some major terraforming, so put on your safety belts because it starts right now. Welcome to It's My Railroad, the how-to show for regular people. Hey, if you haven't already done it, how about pushing that subscribe button? We have so many more of these episodes coming up. We're having a lot of fun, and you guys get to see a whole lot of me, which is your favorite thing ever. I know. In this episode, what we're going to do is we are going to start carving up that styrofoam we put in the last episode. And then we're going to cover it in some Sculptamold, which we've been promising for a while. And then we're going to take some wood filler and sort of plane out, like grade out an area that we're going to set this new kind of track structure in that comes up in a few more episodes. Actually, I've jumped forward a few episodes, and I got to tell you, if it were me, I'd stick around and watch all of them. But I'm just saying. Now, before we go into the hobby room, just a little bit of housekeeping. This is a bag of Sculptamold. Now, like we've been saying, Sculptamold is a paper mache-like product. It's got a little bit of paper, it's got a little plaster. You mix it together with water, and it turns into something that looks like wet newspaper with a little bit of slime in it, and kind of like cottage cheese. And we're going to smooth this out on the layout to build the hillsides and everything. There's information in the description below. If you want to go get some more exhaustive information on where to get this, just click that link down there, and away you go. And this is regular wood filler. I've taken the wood filler, we squeeze it out on top of the styrofoam, plane it out with a putty knife as best we can, get it really wet, like your hand's really wet, make it slimy and just smooth it out. When it dries, we sand it off, and in theory, we have this really flat area that we're gonna lay the track on. We know how important that is, so I don't put any links down for this. It's wood filler. You get it at Lowe's, you squirt it on the layout, Bob's your uncle. So anyway, we get rid of that. So now I think that just about covers everything. Let's get down to some real model railroading right now. Hey, welcome back to the hobby room and the Brown Smith Railroad. If you remember last time, we went ahead and started putting all the styrofoam in for the hillside in the back, and we glued that down, and I've let it set up. I went ahead and started carving some of the styrofoam into the shapes that we're looking for, and I did that without you here for one reason. It's really hard for me to get a camera angle back there to show you how we do it. So let me just show you this. I've got it kind of in a hilly kind of shape back here, and when we get the Sculptamold in there, we're going to sort of move it around and massage it and make it do what we want it to do. But just so I can give you an idea of how I do my carving on the styrofoam, I thought maybe we could take a look at this area right here, because it's a little easier to get a camera angle on, and a little easier for me to just show you kind of how I do it. So let's try to get that done. And the way I do this, it's not really rocket science, to be honest with you. I've just sort of made up my own way of doing things, and that's what we're going to do. First thing we'll do is get Holland Henry out of the way. We'll set him down in the river and hope he don't drown. Yeah, I have some pins left over from when I originally installed this that I kind of need to get out of here. And this one, oh, they're held in a smidge by the glue, but we can make that work. Bada bing, there you go. So here's what I got going here. I've got this hillside coming in here. I've got it kind of sloping off back here. I got a hillside I'm going to continue here. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and pull this tree out of the way so that we can get to it. Matter of fact, I don't want to screw up my coal pier either, so with your permission, we're just going to pull that off for right now. There you go. It's all wonderful. All right, so kind of an easy way to do it with styrofoam is to get the old hobby saw out. This one right here. It'll cut through styrofoam like it's no big deal. But keep in mind, as we get going through this, what you're going to see is the same thing that I did when I got up here, and that is you're going to see a lot of debris, a lot of styrofoam everywhere. The purple insulated foam board does not leave this kind of a problem so much as this white stuff, but this is all we had, and you know, I've got a vacuum. So anyway, I think we can get back in here. It's hard to see this little hillside back here, but I'm just going to start shaving this down there, and I can kind of see that hillside there, all right? And I kind of want it to match this, at least until it gets to here, where I'm going to have the facade put in, or the fascia put in. And just start making that the way we want it. I kind of like it coming up high like this. It's kind of my my idea for it. There, see that? Again, anything else in here is all going to get Sculptamolded, even right over the top of that hill. Even though we've kind of got the hill there already, we're going to Sculptamold it. Just got to bring this down just a little bit more. I might recommend that you buy yourself a shop vac if you're going to do this. Alright, see how it's kind of got just naturally these little fissures and stuff in there. That's the cool stuff about this styrofoam. It's all messed up, but when we go to put the Sculptamold on, it's going to look really cool. Let's get in here and do the same kind of thing to this one. Like that. And we'll leave that kind of boogered up. See how it's kind of boogered up right in here? We're going to leave that. Because then we put Sculptamold on, it doesn't have like this perfect face, you know, because I don't think you'd find that in nature all that much. A little bit more off of there. Back here we have something similar going on. Just rub this around like this to follow this hillside. Sculptamold will extend that. This whole piece right here ultimately needs to be flush with whatever fascia is going to be on there, so we might as well cut some of this off now. Like this, right? Making a mess. I tell you what, let's get the old X-Acto out here and start getting some of this cut out. I'm trying to make this kind of a swaley kind of down in there thing, if that's even a word. Down here, and start knocking some of this off of here. That maybe, I don't know. Some of this is like definite work in progress kind of stuff where you just sort of see what you got and then you keep going from there. All right, that's that part of it. Let's move over here to the right just a little bit and work on what used to be where the old tonal portal was. This kind of already comes around, it kind of comes up here. We just want to extend that look up and around. Leave this relatively flat because this is where the fascia is going to go, right in here. We'll fix that later. Curving, maybe come down in here a little bit, like this. See how it's kind of swooping down in there? And you know, there's no particular thought process going on here. I am just hogging away on this, hoping that ultimately it'll produce something close to what I have in my brain. And we're getting kind of close. Although, see how straight that line is? I'm not really certain we'd find that straight line in nature. So I'm going to bring it back in and then back out a little bit. Like this. And it's getting a little closer, right? I hate to sound like a broken record, but Sculptamold can take care of a whole lot of that when we get there. Now, there might be a temptation to go through and sand this down with sandpaper, make it smooth or whatever. I'm not going to do that. I am just going to Sculptamold the heck out of this thing and build us some really nice rocks. All right, give me just a second to clean this mess up, and then let's get an overview of what we just did. Okay, so now that we've got everything cleaned up, you can kind of see the sort of the hilly kind of landscape developing. That again, we're gonna fine tune that here in just a moment with our Sculptamold. But I just want to remind you, there are so many different ways to do this. I can't cover them all right now and in this build, but we'll put some links to some other ways in the description down below if you want to take a look at that. But I've seen it done a bunch of different ways. This is the hybrid way that I came up with, and you know, so far it's doing the job. So I think we should get to putting some Sculptamold on now. What do you think? Here's the Sculptamold. We'll grab that. I also have my hobby bowl. Now this bowl has seen better days. It's seen Sculptamold. It's seen hydrocal and dirt and just about everything else in it. I use the same bowl. It doesn't really matter. It's a lot of fun. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to take some of this Sculptamold with my bare hands and put it in there. I'm gonna put like 2 handfuls in to start, okay? Because whatever we don't use, it's not like you can save it, and we can always add more. So there's just about how much we're putting in there. A little dusty. Put that in, then we just start adding some water to it, all right? What I'll do is I'll add just a little bit, kind of like that. I don't know if how hard it is to see that. Okay, and we just start mixing it around a little bit, and add a little bit more. And there's a consistency we're trying to get to. You see, it's still kind of powdery. We don't want that. We want it to be. They say to make it like a cottage cheese, and ooh, we're getting kind of close right now with the cottage cheese. And I think that describes it pretty well. Kind of a slimy cottage cheese. See that? Ugh. So anyway, I don't want to spill the water, so we'll get it out of the way. And then, I don't know, we'll just start here. I just take this with my fingers, and I just start wiping it on. Some guys use a putty knife. Some guys will be wearing gloves right now. I'm the kind of guy that kind of likes to get the feel of what I'm working on, and I can't get the feel through a pair of gloves. And I just keep working it on like that. You get a little bit of cure time with this. It doesn't like set up like super glue does, but it does, especially under these lights we're using here, it does start setting up though. Now, you guys may have noticed I got this cheesy blue backdrop back here behind this. Yeah, I've pretty much had that since the beginning. It's just something so enough to have a white wall. One of these days, we'll put a real backdrop back there. Now, see how that's starting to turn into a sort of a slopey kind of hillside? I'm not worried right now about all this little pits and fissures in there, because I have a way to fix that in just a minute. We just gotta let it set up a little bit more. And we just keep doing this, just on and on and on. Adding more, adding more, adding more. And take some of what we got left, we'll get back into here. Start running it around. It's nice to have a backdrop I could just screw up, because otherwise this would be worse. Actually, I shouldn't have put the backdrop in until I was done if I wanted to keep it anyway, right? We're getting there. We're getting there. This edge over here I think is going to stiffen up once this gets on it, but we're also going to end up with some styrofoam underneath it when the time comes. Again, I'm just trying to get this right now so I can get some track up here and have some fun with that for a while. Up here in the mountains, I'm trying to get it more sort of an even flow, not such a big craggly rock thing. We're going to have that going on down here. We don't need it up there just yet. Now I'm going to bring my little water up here, put my hands in the water glass, and then just start going like this. And look what's happening. Look how that's kind of smoothing out by doing that. You just run it back and forth, and it just starts becoming this sort of slimy, kind of smooth kind of surface. And we can always come back and add more Sculptamold later, or use some scenery materials to actually modify this if we want. So it just starts going like that. What we end up with here is this basic kind of hilly kind of shape. All right, so now I'm going to go through there and start getting this area done right in here. Looks like maybe I put too much water in it because it's sticking to my hands and it's not sticking to the project here. Well, I suppose I could just cut the video here and move forward, but you know, some of this doesn't go quite right when you're doing it. Like right now, it's just kind of going everywhere. I gotta sort of do this on the fly to make it work, and so maybe having us all together when those kind of things are happening is better anyway. You got that kind of little transition between the two hills there, right there. See that? That's kind of fun. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay, I'm going to let that set up just a smidge, so that I can sort of work it around a little bit more, because right now it's too wet and it's moving around. So I think we can come over and do this part on top of the tunnel portal. And we'll go ahead and mix up one more batch of Sculptamold here. Just to get this last piece over here. Put that in there. See if we can put less water in than we did on the last batch, because that didn't work out so good. I got a little too wet. Now, did it again. Oh well. Hey, you know what? If I was an expert model builder, you wouldn't see that. Okay, but I'm not, so deal with it. All right, so here we go. We're starting to now do something we haven't had to do yet on the layout, and that is we are blending into this existing area over here. At least that's what I'm trying to do, just sort of blend it in there. All right. All the way down to here. Here, so that later we will just sort of touch up the paint below it and then use the same paint scheme to get all the way up and around into here, and it'll sort of match. I think it'll look pretty good when we're done. We will know for sure soon enough. Now I'm going to show you something that's kind of cool. Okay, see this right here? This right here? That's where this piece of styrofoam and that join. See how there's kind of just this piece missing from it? It just kind of drops off. We see how these look like that down there? That kind of automatically just blends in. That's like an unexpected bonus that we didn't know we were going to have. It just sort of works. And once this is all dry, if we need to do a smidge of sanding here and there just to shape some of these a little better, we can do that. But so far that kind of looks good, just the way it is. So now that we let some of this stuff set up, let's do our final pass with the old wet hand technique and then take a look at what's next. Okay, while we let the Sculptamold dry, we can get one more thing done that's going to require some dry time too. Let's go back to our subroad bed for the railroad track for just a minute. We know that we're going to have rails coming through here, and while we're going to have the scene look like it's uneven and hilly, what we really want is a nice flat surface to lay the track on. I've discovered if you don't, especially around turnouts, it can start having operational problems with the trains later, derailing or getting stuck or something like that. So I'm going to try something different. I haven't done this before, what we're going to do, and that is actually go through and put this in. Normally I just sort of wing it and say, yeah, it's going to be fine, and it turns out I'm generally kind of wrong. One of the things that we have to do, I'm noticing right here, is some of this is not quite flat enough to even put the surface on. So I will just take a sanding sponge here real quick, and I can use a sanding sponge right here on this styrofoam to sort of flatten it all out through the whole area. So let's do that, and then we can lay the putty down that I'm going to lay down. Now it's kind of hard to show this in great detail with the camera angle, but just so you get an idea, I'm just sort of going over here with this sanding sponge. Now this is just a 3M 60 coarse sanding sponge. Just what I had lying around. It's nothing special that I'm aware of. But anyway, it sands down the styrofoam pretty good. I think that might be pretty good. Hopefully I'm right, because what we're getting ready to do now, we cannot reverse unless we just start over. So get rid of all of that the regular guy kind of way. Now I'm going to try some stuff here. Right there, it's the right there, it's the Pro Bond Wood Filler Natural. This is like a wood filler, and it's natural, so we're going to give it a shot. Sometimes you take the putty like you get out of the, the can. It's pink and then it dries the color it's supposed to be and all that. But I saw this stuff at Lowe's today and I figured, well, let's just give it a shot. So with any luck, start back here. Take this stuff and squeeze it. And we know we got like a turnout there. There's a pipe zone right there, right? And the turnout keeps going. Pipe zone right here. And even back to here. Now this is going to be pretty smooth back here to begin with, but we'll just give this a whirl and see how things work. Alright, putty knife time. And the good news is there's no way I can fit my putty knife in back there. Well, okay. So we'll just do what we can. And again, I'm just sort of getting this down to cover all the big nooks and crannies. And then we'll do maybe a little fine tuning with some sandpaper when the time comes. But there's a concern that's right in through here. We just need to fill this in for sure. And it's filled in, and oh look, we found a mystery tea pen. Well, there you go. So it's kind of like mustard coming out of this bottle. I don't know, it's making me hungry for deli right now. Now, if I was the expert model builder, man, would this look good right now. You almost wouldn't want to paint over it, but I'm not. So this is what you get. I'm winging it, brothers. I think that track will come along there. We filled that in there and there. Now the rest of this being all screwed up, we don't really care. It's going to be scenery. We're going to carve it up and everything. So I don't know that I care all that much. Maybe go through and put one more smoothing layer on this. And just sort of smooth it out as best we can. See how that's kind of coming out right there? Yeah, it's better. I think right here though, we'll get this and then we're going to call it a day, alright? Get this little piece right here. Well, there you go. We've got Sculptamold on our hills. We've laid down our sort of sub-road bed that later on we're going to sand smooth. I can see there's some places here and there that probably could use a little bit more Sculptamold, but I'll work on that a little bit later. But let's let this set up, then let's sand it down, then let's put some track on it, and then let's finish up the scenery. And there we go. Got some carving done, got some terraforming done, got some planing done, all ready to really get going on that logging camp. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the episodes coming up. Now, if you like this channel, do me a favor and subscribe to it. That way you're not going to miss any of the episodes coming up. If you liked this video, just go ahead and push that like button. Let everybody know how much you like it. And then, of course, if there's anybody you think might be interested in what we're doing and can learn something from this or maybe even contribute, just share the video with them. Don't worry about it. I won't mind. Now, let me ask you this question. If you haven't started building your model railroad yet, what are you waiting for? My looks to improve? It's not gonna happen, people. Alright, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you again for watching. My name is Steve Brown, and I will see you next time. Now let me ask you this question. If you haven't started building your model railroad yet, what are you waiting for? My skill level to get better? It's not gonna happen, people.